Hello and welcome back. I'm Bots Obsession, and I'm joined by the wonderful Queen of Ross Finds herself, Diaclona.
Hello, hello, everybody.
Today we are going to be going through some of your Transformer hot takes. A few more of them. We have a few of these to go through, and if you like this video, you're going to love the other one that we did on Lai's channel, which I'll put an iCard up or a link in the description. Let's get right into it. We're going to start with this one from F106, which is gimmicks should make a return in generations. Automorph and spring-loaded missiles don't make a toy worse for display.
Yeah, the Beast Awakening Ultimate Primal from last year. It was my second favorite toy of last year, and I think a lot of that came from the heft that comes with gimmicks. There's like a childlike joy in just being able to fire off a missile or have little spring-loaded features. And you can enjoy the figure without experiencing those things too.
I think gimmicks just need to be implemented better. Famously, Machine Wars Hoist is a one-step changer and is wonderful because he actually has articulation, unlike modern one-step changers.
Oh my god, yeah, modern one-steps suck. They're so bad.
I half agree with this. I just think we need them implemented better.
Yeah, and I think the problem is that Hasbro understands now that there's a separation between the kid targeted lines and the just regular adult oriented lines, and so they're very much less inclined to put gimmicks in the adult oriented ones.
We have this one which says Hasbro should steal from third party more often. Yes. They're like 100%. They did it with Menasor, and they should do it more.
Yeah, and I mean, like, regardless of the moral implications, all the love and respect to third-party companies, what are they gonna do if Hasbro takes their engineering?
Hey, you can't do that. Why? You did it for us. Like,
yeah, yeah.
It's free engineering.
As much as I am for originality, there's some tricks that Hasbro could definitely take from third party, and I don't even think it necessarily has to be like actual stealing of direct engineering, but just there are a lot of things that third party does that Hasbro should take inspiration from for sure.
100%, 100%. Just like Menasor being, I think, the most prevalent example. I'm sure that we're gonna see some form of either MP44 or Light of Peace, New Age David style engineering tricks on that 86 Prime too.
Yeah, absolutely.
This one says, this is also from F106, that none of the Legacy Deluxes have given me more than $20 worth of enjoyment.
Yeah. Oh, look, no tea, no shade to any of the questions. No offense intended to anyone who holds any of these opinions. The Legacy Deluxes have been stone cold stunners, absolute bangers. I'm looking up at my shelf right now, and I'm struggling to find a Legacy Deluxe that's bad. Okay, Crosshairs, or what's his name? Point Blank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I can count on one hand how many I haven't enjoyed.
Yeah. And I don't even really like the Skids mold, but like I'm aware that it's pretty good.
Oh, my heart.
I know, I'm sorry. We very much differ on this point, but I am not a fan of the Skids mold. But it's fine. Like I feel like the worst Legacy figures are fine.
I was talking to someone, and this is Voyagers, but I was like, when was the last time we got a bad Voyager?
Oh my god, yeah, 100%.
Like Armada Starscream.
Voyagers have killed it. Oh yeah, he was very underwhelming.
But every deluxe has been, maybe aside from like Shadow Striker.
maybe they have Shadow Striker and Armada Hotshot, because if we're just talking about those two, they are not very good.
Those are the only deluxes that they own. Yeah. I did a video about like how it's the collector's responsibility to get the version or the toys that they want, and that doing your research and being informed is part of that. And maybe you should watch some more reviews like the ones that we do.
Yeah. Always be plugging. And if you just need recommendations, like the animated Bumblebee goes crazy.
Animated Prowl is really good.
Oh yeah, animated Prowl. I prefer the Chromia use of the mold just because it's prettier. But yeah, the Prowl. Tarantulas. I think Tarantulas is incredible.
He's cool. I like the. I mean, I'm gonna say it every time. Skids is great. Get Crosscut though.
I actually prefer Burnout. I think Burnout looks really nice.
Good.
And obviously Cannonball if you can find him.
He's OP and fixes every issue. iCard for Cannonball's review here. So Nightmare Lyoko says Transformers female characters should range from hourglass to bulky and rounded, but that would be more difficult to make toys of. I feel like we're seeing a shift. I like if you look at I'm not disagreeing with this at all, by the way. I 100% like where's my new Striker and also a new Yellow Splendid, please, for the love of God.
Oh my God, please.
But I feel like we're seeing a shift in the way that like Hasbro or Hastac is tackling female Transformers because Minerva, her legs have a very animated RC style transformation and her arms actually integrate into the vehicle mode. She still has like a big backpack like she's going camping, but it also functions sort of because it gives her those shoulder pylons from the comic book that she appeared in recently. She also actually transforms, and she's not like super thin. She's kind of short. She has the big chunky boots, and I think we're seeing a little bit more of. And then we got a new Override, which is like, you know, it's Nitro Convoy, a male character, and then it's Override, a female character over here. So, you know, one of the most gender neutral character designs in my opinion, and you know, that's epic, and people responded to that really well, that new version. So I'm hoping we see more things like, you know, if we get that legacy animated Lugnut, maybe we could get a clobber off of it.
Yeah, 100% agree with you that I feel like we're making very good strides. I think they saw the negative reaction to like the Siege Fembot mold getting used so many times.
Yeah.
And stuff like the Kingdom RC, which I still refuse to get because I've seen how terrible it is. Even Studio Series 86 RC I don't think is very good. But I've noticed the unfortunate trend is that it feels like the best fembots on my shelf, they're just like repaints of other molds, like Legacy Chromia, obviously, easy one. Generation Selects Antagony, you know. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing either that we're getting female characters from non-typical female body types. I agree with what the Alita mold. I think that is a genuinely very good mold, and I'm glad that it was originally a fembot, and we've gotten several really good fembots out of it.
Yes.
But yeah, we are in dire need of a Striker. I loved the I know it's not very good, but Power of the Primes Alita is just muscle mommy. We need more muscle mommies. Just give us different body shapes. Like, they don't all have to be dainty and feminine.
This one comes from Scorch. He says, accuracy is not a positive, just an aesthetic choice. And then he goes on to list some examples of figures that aren't 100% accurate. He uses RTS tracks versus Kingdom tracks, Sergeant Cup versus 86 Cup, Skullgrin, the two Skullgrins, Classics B and Netflix B, and Mirage and Siege Mirage, which I don't agree with all his examples, but 100% accuracy is not always a good thing. If we're talking about figures that have been detrimental because of accuracy, Kingdom Tracks is 100% up there, and I to a degree think the same with Mirage, because that Classics Mirage is insane. That's peak.
Classics Mirage blows both Siege and Kingdom Mirage out of the water.
Yes.
100% agree on that. Same with Tracks. The RTS Track/Wheeljack mold is incredible, and I don't know how you feel about Tracks. I feel like I watched your review and I can't remember your opinion. I cannot stand Kingdom Tracks even a little bit.
Yeah, I 100% agree that like accurate. I feel like if there's a cool, if someone sitting there at Hastac has a cool design or a new take on a figure, just do it. Like, I feel like that's how we got Legacy Bulkhead, and Legacy Bulkhead's epic.
I think that's one thing that Hasbro could take from third parties like TFC, is that they are not, like, I feel like the big third party scene right now is just, it's 7 different companies all doing the same characters in masterpiece scale with the same aesthetic. And I feel like seeing that TFC is finally doing their Hunger is so refreshing because it's such an original, interesting aesthetic. I feel like we've really stepped away from Chug aesthetic a little bit, where we're trying so hard to be accurate to G1, which is great. Like, we've gotten some great G1 accurate things, but I feel like there's something so refreshing about an updated look. And I think Bulkhead falls into that because, like you said, it's not Prime, even though it says it is, it's not definitely not animated. It's its own thing, and I think we need more of that
Yes.
freedom to embrace different aesthetics for our figures.
There was a period in my Discord poll where like four people in a row here all agreed that like the Bayverse designs are really good. Yes. Yeah, I loved when they just grabbed like the toy only characters. I think are the best examples of this, like Swindle and Payload, those kind of guys. Dropkick from movie 1, and then of course Dirge and Lockdown and Bludgeon from Hunt for the Decepticons and Revenge of the Fallen. Those are some of the coolest designs. Scout all the scouts, any scout class figure.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, and even some of the movie designs. Like I know that that Maka at the top of this, he really likes the RC triplets because they're weird and different and alien, and he's like, Transformers are aliens, they should look alien.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if they mean more just from the toy line or from the movie itself. I am a noted Revenge of the Fallen hater, which I think is a fair opinion to hold given the everything about it. But I think a lot of what I don't like about the movie is the visual clutter. Like I feel like it's where we really started because movie 1 you had your cast of Decepticons. Like none of them were really characters, but they were recognizable. You could pick them out in a crowd. Movie
Yeah.
2 is where we start to get into that everyone is just a gray hulking mass, nobody has distinct colors kind of thing. Um so as far as the in the actual movie, I disagree. I think a lot of the designs there are just garbage. I think the Fallen looks terrible.
Yeah.
Um, but the toy line, absolutely. They were cooking out of their minds. I miss Scout Class more than I can express.
One more from F106. This is, we need more random nobodies to get toys. I can't agree more. There's no like discovery of characters anymore, but there was like an era where you could go to Walmart and on the shelf was a brand new fresh in box Scoop. And who knew who Scoop was?
Yeah.
You know, like in
Yeah.
Thrilling 30, who knew who that was? And I genuinely miss random late wave repaints like Cannonball was for Cybertron. And you know, we don't really see either original characters for toy lines anymore or goofy nobody characters getting figures. I mean, of course there's exceptions. I like every Diaclone character, I love them, but they are nobodies. And like some of the Beast Wars repaints, but I feel like that's more out of getting use out of a mold than it is like actually getting things that fans want or like doing something interesting.
I definitely agree. I think the more obscure a character is, the more compelled I am to buy it, which sounds very like hipster of me and kind of cringe. But I don't know, it's so much nicer walking in to a store and walking out with a Rock Lord than just another Bumblebee. I think Legacy United especially has been pretty on the ball for obscure characters. Like all of the Rock Lords are essentially just original OC Rock Do Not Steal. I think ever since Kingdom, we've been getting really good stuff. What do you call it? The modulators? Is that what all of them are
Yeah,
called?
I think so. I think that's like the start of them, or the weaponizers. There we go. That's what they are.
Yeah, the weaponizers, like the fossilizers were all original characters. We got the Junkions, now we have the Rock Lords. I think we need more of that, but I understand that financially we're still going to keep getting Optimus Primes and Bumblebees and such.
Jake State Farm says Fall of Cybertron is the best written Transformer story from a standpoint of getting as much people want with as few complaints, barring aside from an extra level with Starscream and Jetfire. I've not played Fall of Cybertron yet. I want to play it for the channel, for the stream, because we finished up Devastation. So I want to play this, and I've heard nothing but good things of Fall of Cybertron, and I've seen clips, and I love the designs. They look really cool. I just have no nostalgia or really like opinions about it because I haven't experienced it.
Yeah, I played it when I was younger, so I have nostalgia, but I have very limited memories of the actual meat and potatoes of like plot or whatever. But like Nod said, like I have never heard a complaint about War for Cybertron or Fall of Cybertron that's about the story. Like it's a very good it's a very good telling of the war for Cybertron and the fall of Cybertron. And I think the only thing that really weighs it down is the fact that it was shoehorned into the aligned continuity.
I think that might be the biggest complaint. Like, aside from like some of the levels, I think the biggest complaint I hear is that like it's attached to TF Prime and Rescue Bots and things like that.
Yeah.
So
And it just doesn't make sense in that continuity. Like none of it lines
yeah.
up. It's like the Unicron trilogy. Like it's really the Unicron duology, and then surprise, Transformers Cybertron exists.
It's really strange too, because like those games are so like grimdark, and then you get TF Prime, which has a little bit of a lighter tone, and then you have RID 15 and Rescue Bots, which are
Yeah.
like in which like I'm gonna be honest, I'm surprised Bots isn't thrown in there, because those last few shows are baby brained.
Yeah. I baby brain. It's like a sliding scale from like the edgiest person possible to like listening to Megan Trainor unironically.
The suburbification of Fall of
Yes.
Cybertron.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh man, they gentrified the Fall of Cybertron. Mio, also known as Shattershock, says that she thinks it's good and sometimes important that some Transformers express romantic emotions, regardless of preferred pronouns or gender identity. She says that romantic relationships and emotions are important. It emphasizes that they're not just robots and are living beings. She also goes on to explain a little bit more that you can read here. But yeah, I mean, there's been multiple occasions where I think, especially in IDW, where there's a lot of there's a lot of trauma bonding in that series, and it's led to some really cool dynamics. Like, I really like the dynamics between Brainstorm and Nautica, how she kind of puts him in his place, and that's where they kind of bond. I like Rewind and Chrome Dome are fantastic, and obviously there's even like the tension that's kind of between Alita and Optimus in the Skybound comics, where you know they're close to a degree, but they're having like a little bit of a spat. I say more than a spat, because it's two generals on two different ends of it's a whole thing. But yeah, I
Yeah.
100% agree that there's a layer of depth that giving Transformers a romantic attachment or any form of attachment to another Transformer lends itself to. And I do think that a lot, if it's used well, then it can add to the story.
Yeah, I think the peak of this being done well was probably early More Than Meets the Eye. I think toward the end of Lost Light, it gets a little bit it gets a little Tumblr shippy. It's a little self-indulgent.
Yeah.
But I think to want a Transformers series with no romance, or even taking a step back from romance, just less focus on interpersonal relationships, like why would you care about the war if there aren't stakes in these individual characters? And I think the stakes come from making them more human. And one of the like most relatable human things is any kind of love. And so having them be romantically entangled, or having them have best friends or life partners, it's so compelling and it's so human in a way that early Transformer stuff either wasn't or didn't know how to be.
So I
Yeah,
think
like it obviously doesn't have to be like an adult kind of love every time, but
exactly.
it can be nice if it's just like, oh, these two have feelings for each other. That's fine. That's normal. That's regular.
Yeah,
And it can be compelling. And yeah.
exactly. I think this is a great point, and emphasizing that Transformers are living things is a whole other deal. Like, there's a not to stroke Dark of the Moon's ego more than I already do, but Sentinel Prime has a line where he says, "On this planet they call us machines," and I think that line speaks volumes about how humans and even like the fandom perceives Transformers, because they aren't machines. They are to a degree, they are alive. Fellow content creator Treebot, he says, hot take, I don't think the moral line should be blurred with Megatron except at the beginning of his story. Everywhere else, he should be beyond redemption. And me and Lai, we talked about this just a little bit. We talked about all these just a little bit before we started recording. And my initial thought was like Autobot Megatron. Like, I don't think Autobot Megatron should exist. And I remember you saying like that you had opinions on that.
Yes. So first of all, I believe 100% that from the beginning Megatron should have been in the right. I think the whole IDW class warfare thing where Megatron is from the lower class and is being mistreated by the Autobot regime and that the Primes are a corrupt lineage, I think that should be canon. I also do think that there should come a point where he takes a step too far and isn't really redeemable. However, I do think that Autobot Megatron is a incredibly compelling story arc in More Than Meets the Eye and Lost Light.
I like Megatron, and I think one of my favorite depictions of Megatron is the Siege version, the Netflix show version, because
Mm.
you
Mhm.
see him go from like this opposing war general that is maybe a little bit more willing to do the things Optimus isn't, and it's like okay, and you see these guys whispering in his ear essentially and making him fall down until he gets to the point where he's like, you know what? No, I'm gonna do atrocities. and
Yeah.
and like I think the reason for me that Autobot Megatron doesn't work is because at that point in IDW, he goes from a Malcolm X style character to space genocidal German man. I just feel like it doesn't work for me. There's too much morally gray soup in More Than Meets the Eye by the time that Autobot Megatron rolls around, and it's never, that version of Autobot Megatron's never worked for me. I think it works to a degree where in like Earthspark, where Megatron and everyone is just stuck on Earth, and Optimus basically tells them like, yeah, it's either you team up with me and we put all this behind us, or we're gonna end each other. I think
Yeah.
that's really the only way that it works.
I would say that's valid. I definitely agree that Earthspark did an incredible job of making him a good guy, and I think it's partly because we understand that even though it's a war and there's like stakes, that he's not like a war criminal at that point. He's
Yeah,
just on the wrong side, kind of. I don't know, depends on how you interpret it. I
yeah,
think the line that got me fully on board with Autobot Megatron, just because I think it helps bridge the dissonance between oh he's a good guy now and he has done innumerable like impossible amounts of damage to the universe is the some of the Autobots are sitting around talking about it's easy to hate a Decepticon who's killed one Autobot, right? They've killed your
mhm,
friend, you knew that Autobot, but how can you even fathom one who has killed millions? Like that doesn't, you don't understand what that looks like. Even reading the whole continuity, you can't keep the scope of his like sins in your mind the whole time because it's just so much. And so even though I agree that at that point he pretty much is irredeemable, there's almost a compelling element in that lack of ability to redeem him that almost makes him redeemable. I don't know if that makes sense.
so that wraps up our Discord hot takes. We're moving into Instagram for the first time. Starting us off is Alex the Lion with Rodimus is the better leader. I wouldn't say he's the better leader. I think he's the more compelling leader. Like anytime Rodimus is in charge, he has this slight cockiness to him, and he has this ego that is interesting to watch either like expand or shrink based on his accomplishments as a leader. And I think that makes him more interesting as a story device than Optimus Prime, who is like team dad or psychopath. I think Rodimus I think Rodimus is interesting because he's layered. I don't know if he's the better leader overall though, but I think he makes the better plot device leader.
Yeah, I would say the only times I've found Optimus Prime to be like I don't hate Optimus Prime,
Mhm.
but as far as being interesting, animated was interesting because he's like that's very much a different take where he's
Yeah.
young and inexperienced and stuff. That was compelling. And I think Skybound is the first time that like Dad Optimus has been super engaging because you're
Yes.
seeing this father figure basically have to lose his children and make decisions that will harm his family for the good of like the universe.
Yeah.
But I agree 100% that Rodimus might not be the better leader like in continuity, like in the world, you would much rather have Optimus as your leader. As far as entertainment goes, like I would so much rather read More Than Meets the Eye again than the Optimus Prime miniseries from IDW. But it's just so much more interesting to watch Rodimus fart around and make mistakes.
Yes. It's nice to have a commander who is fallible.
Rodimus is more interesting, even if not a better leader.
Yeah. From Beans V3, we have Cliffjumper is always cooler than Bumblebee. I want to say he always is cooler.
Yeah, I always is a very strong word.
Yeah. I think Prime Cliffjumper is a bit cooler than Prime Bumblebee. But I don't know if
For as
I don't
long as that lasts him.
yeah. I don't know if G1 Cliff is cooler than Bumblebee. I feel like they're both equally interesting.
Yeah,
Eh,
they're both kind of silly little guys on the opposite end of the spectrum. Like
Yeah.
B's like the goofy one and Cliff is like the hot-headed one.
Yeah.
It's like they're basically just Raphael and Michelangelo.
Yeah, like, and I kind of like that dynamic. It's also interesting how many comparisons, because like from a toy and consumer standpoint, it's one of those things where Cliffjumper and Bumblebee are so intrinsically entwined. But if you look at like media, they're almost never hanging out together. Like
Yeah.
they're never shown. And also, Transformers animated Cliffjumper has nothing on animated Bumblebee. Like he's a
Oh
stick
yeah.
in the mud and
Yeah.
boring.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say always, but there's definitely some exceptions where Cliffjumper gets the shine and Bumblebee kind
Yeah.
of takes a backseat. The new comic book, the Skybound comic, is a little unfair too because Bumblebee's just gone.
Yeah. I think this take definitely feels a little bit uh recency bias because
Mm,
it's easy to say that Cliffjumper's better when he is the one who's getting a very good showing in media right now. And
yeah,
Bumblebee, well, I mean, we haven't seen Transformers 1 yet. We're hoping, obviously, that Bumblebee is good in that.
yeah,
Um, I would say generally Cliffjumper is less annoying to me than Bumblebee. I think Bumblebee can often fall into the trap of just being very obnoxious. Like the later Bay movies, he is completely insufferable, in my
yeah.
opinion.
I'll give it that.
But I mean, he was great. He was great in Bumblebee though. And Cliffjumper got axed, obviously, again.
I don't know how to pronounce this. Geredu Art says that Studio Series 86B should have just been a Netflix repack if possible. The Cliffjumper mold is fine, and there's a number of reasons that it shouldn't have, like they were never gonna reissue the Netflix Bumblebee, namely licensing. But at the same time, what and I guarantee this is the reason that we got a new mold for 86. It's not for accuracy. It's not for, it's not because people complained about it. It's because they can repaint and retool that one without any extra cost. That's why.
Yeah.
It was 86B was always going to be a new mold.
And even outside of like logistical reasons, I like the Earthrise Cliffjumper mold, and
Yeah.
I don't mind the Netflix B. It is league below 86B. 86B is an incredible figure. I cannot like if you have aesthetic disagreements with the way the car mode looks, I get that, but I think especially considering the parts forming, like there is no argument to be made that 86B is a worse figure
Mm-hmm.
than Earthrise Cliffjumper. And yeah, I cannot wait to get all of the mini bot repaints. Please, I am begging on my knees, give us Glyph and Tap Out. Oh my
Please.
God.
Valentine's Day 2-pack,
Please.
please.
Literally, February. Do it in February.
Please. I've
Please.
been begging for Glyph and Tap Out. Rounding out the Instagram ones, we have Fufield's response, which is any Transformer should be able to die in a series no matter the popularity. I
100%. 100% agree on this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it also depends on like what the tone is, but like currently Skybound being I guess our main media source right now, no one is off the table. Like everyone is on there. Like there's the what is it, issue 8 or 7 that opens on like a ton of them getting axed. So,
Oh my God. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
I've heard a lot of critique about him being too flippant with killing off characters, but I agree 100% that it's a war. Like your
Yes.
people are gonna die, and I think the stake it doesn't feel like it cheapens the stakes to kill named characters so much. I feel like it makes it feel more like a real fight, and it leaves you on your toes. Like I don't know if Cliffjumper's gonna die. I don't know if Optimus is gonna die. Any of these people are vulnerable, and it's
Yes.
scary and it's compelling, and it keeps me like on the edge of my seat while I'm reading it.
100%. And like even in like to a degree, like again, I hate bringing up Dark of the Moon, but there's the coat turn moment, which is like I think that threw everyone for a loop who wasn't like, especially if you were a kid back then, you were like,
Oh my
whoa,
God, yeah.
how? I think if any characters are on the line, all of them should be on the line.
Yeah. It because I feel like one of the things I didn't like about Rise of the Beasts, I'm a big Rise of the Beast defender, but I legitimately I would have given it so many props if they had let Bumblebee stay dead and let Mirage be the new it guy, because that would have the stakes would have felt realer than they'd ever been. Because even watching the Bayverse movies where so many characters just die, you always know that Optimus is fine, you always know that Bumblebee's fine, you always know that Megatron will return.
Yeah.
So there's a certain level of plot armor that just makes you lose interest in the character. But if I hadn't seen the moment in the trailer where he dives out of the plane, like I might have actually believed for a little bit that he was dead. And I feel like it could be so much more compelling when nobody has plot armor.
Moving on to the YouTube responses, we have Max M21, which says a lot of things, but we're just going to look at this first one because I thought it was the most interesting. And that says, I think HasLab is a bad anti-consumer business model designed to weaponize FOMO by eliminating the ability to wait for sales, deals, or price drops. And it's not fair to people who don't have access to the money at the time of the year. And HasLab Unicron is the worst Transformer ever made. Um,
Oh my God. Okay.
yeah, a lot of
Wow.
a lot of takes here. I don't think, like, just kind of pick this apart going through. HasLab is bad, and it weaponizes FOMO by eliminating sales and things. It I think people see HasLab, and I've talked to multiple collectors who see it this way. HasLab, a lot of them see it as a pre-order. HasLab is not a pre-order. It is a made-to-order product. You and I feel like a lot of people miss that point about HasLab. Yes, we know from the that charity event that happened that Hasbro has some extremely limited leftover stock. That doesn't mean that those should go on sale, those should go on clearance, whatever. HasLab is supposed to be for collectors. It is to get obscure characters into the hands of collectors. So I think saying that I do think that there is a level of FOMO to, like, oh, I'm not a big RIDO1 guy, and what Omega Prime is $300. I am gonna buy it even though I don't like that character. But I feel like that's just you being an irresponsible collector. See my Hasbro is not out to get you video. The HasLab Unicron is bad. Yeah, I think everyone's kind of coming around to realizing that a $600 figure should not be missing paint on the teeth. Whew.
Are you can I are you
Go
ready or do you
nuts.
have more?
Go nuts.
Okay. I have never heard an opinion that I so agree with and has
Oh
like
no.
cut me to the core so much that will not change my spending habits because I have all the HasLabs, um but I do agree. Did they say predatory? Was that the word they used?
They said it is a anti-consumer business model designed to weaponize FOMO. So I think predatory is a
Yeah.
synonym.
Yeah, reading between the lines there, it weaponizing FOMO, like I got Unicron, I have Unicron, he's staring me down as we speak, and as far as a centerpiece and a talking point, yeah, he's cool, but I have some regrets regarding financial decisions that were made when I was but a teenager. Um, I didn't go for Star Saber, and I regretted it so bad that I paid aftermarket price for him. And one of
Ooh.
the only reasons I got Deathsaurus, well, okay, I'm not gonna say one of the only reasons. I got Deathsaurus because he is a space chicken. But part of why I got him was the fear of missing out. Like, I have no connection to Star Saber or Deathsaurus. I do think they're cool. And I'm
Mhm.
not blaming Hasbro for this, obviously. Like you said, it is our responsibility as collectors to buy what we want and not like cave to the peer pressure. But I think weaponizing FOMO definitely happened to me. Like those two would not be in my collection if I didn't have a little bit of FOMO for them. Yeah, that said, like I can agree with this person all I want and I can dunk on
Mhm.
HasLab. I bought all of them. It's not gonna change
They
the fact
won.
that yeah, no, they won. They got me. They completely owned me in the marketplace of ideas, and I am my argument is null and void because I am a complete consumer sucker.
Next question comes from Tree Cloud, and this one says that the hottest take is that Transformers overall has more bad than good, and it's hard to recommend to friends what to watch and what to get into. Oof. I I sort of agree. I think that there is some great stuff to recommend to people who are like, "Hey, I want to watch Transformers or I want to get into Transformers." Especially right now. Like and they ask you like, "Hey, what should I do?" Because the answer right now is Skybound. The answer is
Yeah.
go pick up the trade for Skybound and Void Rivals to a degree. I could see how in the past it might be hard to recommend someone, the More Than Meets the Eye comics, because those have all it's a huge backlog and there's different versions of IDW, so it's confusing, like, and then the shows range from good to completely unwatchable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see how it's difficult to tell a friend like, yeah, this is what you should watch.
I think if it's somebody who's like, "Oh, I want to watch the Transformers movies," you're screwed. You are completely screwed because you can recommend Bumblebee, which is very good. You can recommend Rise of the Beast, which is enjoyable but flawed. You can
Mhm.
recommend the 86 movie, which is, if we take off the nostalgia goggles for just a moment, it is a toy commercial with
Yes.
maybe a little bit lacking in substance. Or you can recommend a film in which a an older gentleman tells a man that his underage daughter is eligible for dating because of this laminated card that he has in his pocket that protects him from the law.
Oh, don't forget the
Uh,
one where the RC car humps Megan Fox's leg multiple times.
oh, you mean the one with all the racist
And he's
caricatures?
voiced by SpongeBob.
Oh my God, yeah, he is. Oh, he really voiced both a racial stereotype and a sex pest in the same movie. That
Sex
is
pest.
unbelievable. If it's somebody who could get into like anime or animated TV shows, I think it's mostly good. I think there's a whole wealth of cartoons and TV shows to enjoy. Movies, you're boned, you're outnumbered by all the bad stuff. Comic, I agree 100% with the IDW take. As much as I will glaze More Than Meets the Eye and that whole continuity, like I would not be able to read it if I didn't have 24 years of Transformers knowledge internalized already.
I'm kind of sitting on this take, like, yeah, I sort of agree. I don't know if I fully agree, because the good stuff's good, but the bad stuff is
Yeah.
bad.
I'm not sure if outnumbers, maybe I would say it's like a 50-50 split.
Yeah.
Let's say you have a bin that contains all of the Transformers continuity. If you throw a rock into it, I'd say it's about a 50-50 shot that it lands on something watchable.
Next up is Metatron, who has a few takes, but once again, we're just going to be looking at one of them, that being take number one. They don't really like the Allspark or Enigma of Combination and wish they would stop appearing in the series. A magical artifact that makes things happen with no explainable process is not interesting. And then they go on to explain why they prefer combination and things over the Well of Allsparks and the Enigma of Combination, etc. I don't agree with this at all. I like the idea of Transformers having a little bit of fantasy to their lore or a little bit of mysticism. Like, they have these artifacts, like kind of like how we have like the sword of Excalibur and things like that, which were like, oh, it doesn't exist, but like it'd be really cool if it did. It's kind of cool to have like this race of highly advanced robotic beings, and they have these things. Like, and it's not even that the Matrix has to be all powerful. It could just be a thing, like a brooch that gets passed down. Yeah, I like this kind of stuff. We see alien races have, to a degree, a form of religion. It feels relatable.
Continuing your point, I think I agree that there should be a level of mysticism. I feel like it should be like a Star Wars level, because some people say Star Wars is sci-fi, but it's not. It's space fantasy. And I think that Transformers existing in that same space is good. Where like, yeah, there are a lot of typically sci-fi elements, and maybe there are things that have scientific explanations sometimes. But I think some sectors of Transformers should be left up to mysticism, and I think that's compelling. However, I do think that um, using it as like the focal point, like, oh, we need the Allspark, it's this artifact. Oh, we need the Enigma of Combination, it's this artifact. Oh, the what we need the Transwarp key, it's this artifact. Like, we
When it's a
have too
MacGuffin.
many. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm so sick of MacGuffin based Transformers plots. That's why I think Bumblebee was so refreshing. So as much as I do think mysticism is compelling in Transformers, and religion especially, like looking for the, not to glaze Matumti again, but the whole point of the Lost Light was to find the Knights of Cybertron, and they're basically a MacGuffin. But it was more about, like, there are people on the ship who believe in the religion. There are people on the ship who don't care about the religion. Like, it's all very
Yeah.
it feels very human. Like, that's a very human thing to do, is to believe without evidence necessarily, just to have faith in things.
Aggro Crow says that Transformers Animated shouldn't come back, not because it's ugly, not because it's boring, but because it is Derek J. Wyatt's baby, and without him, the conclusion would not feel sincere. I
Yeah.
I don't think there's been a Transformers Animated take I agree with more. As much as I would love like a movie or like a special that kind of wraps up, or maybe even animates the Stunticon job or something, I don't think that they should ever do a continuation. I feel like if they want to animate the comic books, that'd be cool. Like, that'd be nice to get those in a more accessible fashion. But when it comes to like actually doing season 4, I don't care what anyone says. Season 4 is fake, and it's not real, and it can't hurt you. And and we should just leave it as this ethereal, nebulous thing that Derek J. Wyatt took with him to the grave.
Yeah. I think the Derek J. Wyatt stuff, absolutely. Like, he was such a creative force behind the show, and so I genuinely think it would be disrespectful to try and revive it without him. But even aside from that, all the love in the world. It's been like over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
The show is not coming back. It was never coming back, and I think there is such a need in modern media consumption to force good things to go on for too long. I think that trying so desperately to hold on to these old media properties, and to be so beholden to your nostalgia, is just, you're setting yourself up for disappointment.
It's done. It's over. And yeah, I'm kind of like how you said. I'm content to let it live with the 7-year-old part of me, and I'm glad that it's there, but I don't need more of it. Thank you so much for joining us as we went through your Transformers hot takes. If you would like to see more and some expanded hot takes, go over and check out Lai's video. I'll have it linked in the description or up in the iCard. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It was a really good time.
Thank you so much for watching. YouTube thinks you'll like this video right over here. Don't forget to check out the support links in the description, and I'll see you in the next one. This has been Bot's Obsession.